Hello, in this recording, we're going to look at the specific case of employees who left the company during the fiscal year used for bonus calculation. So in this case, Patrick Coburn was terminated, left the company on April 1st, 2022, and he came back on July 1st, 2022. And the requirement by the customer here is to only consider the record after rehire or the several records after he rehired. So this would be, for example, a first one, but let's say he changed salary on October 1st. We would also want that record to be retrieved. Um, but the customer only wants to get the data to calculate bonuses after July 1st when this person got rehired and scratch the records that were before termination that may have been totally valid for bonus eligibility. But the problem in variable pay is that we have here dates for this program that are 1/1 to 12/31/2022. And if we look at our eligibility rule for records, we can see that we have set the rule to say only retrieve active records, but there's no possibility for us to differentiate the record before termination and the record after rehire. In case they are both valid, they both have all the bonus plans entered, the bonus plan values in job info, it's impossible to differentiate them using standard business rule functions. Um, we could say, for example, if we were to add here, if employee status equal active and event reason equal rehire, yes, that would work to retrieve the record of the after rehire, but that wouldn't work to retrieve the records for all other employees who did not get rehired during the year. So all of these, for example, who did not change salary or did not change anything during the fiscal year, so for whom we need to have one record, those would not be retrieved by that rule, which is an inclusion rule. So let's take a look at this example again. And what I'm going to explain in this recording is how to filter to only retrieve the one record after rehire or the several records after rehire. We'll do a case like that as well to validate the rule, the workaround. So it's pretty complex, but I'm going to slowly take us through all the steps that are needed. So that is going to include the creation of a custom object, the creation of 2 integration center jobs that are scheduled to run it on a daily basis, one after the other. And so we're going to eventually come up in 30 minutes at the end of this recording with a situation where we rerun the rule to get the data from Employee Central, and this one disappeared and only this one is retrieved, or this one, or we'll also do a test case where we add a salary change on October 1st and we can see that it gets retrieved after we rerun the rule. So let's get started. So the first step is to create a custom object. So we're going to do that through configure object definition. Create new. And we're going to call this object termination date for incentive planning. And take this here and we can copy it. Oh, actually it will copy it by default in label. So effective dating needs to be basic. API visibility needs to be editable. Status active, we're not going to change this. We can set a nice label, for example, termination date for incentive planning. Then we can scroll to the bottom, nothing else needs to change in this top part. Here, external code must be of type user, that's very important. The external code of type user and the API visibility are the 2 most important here. And then external name we don't need, we can delete this one. Effective start date doesn't change, and then we need to add one more field called termination date. And this field needs to be of type date, that is very important. And then we can save, and after we save, we are going to have to permission it through role-based permission. So to do that, we go to permission role, click on the role super user, which in this case my user is tied to, click on permission, go to miscellaneous, and search for incentive planning. That's probably the fastest way to get to it. Yeah. And give all these permissions here to the super user. And click done and save changes. So now our object is created, and we are going to build integration center jobs to populate values in it in a very specific and ordered way. So the first integration job we're going to create is going to take care of creating a record with a fixed effective date of 2021, January 1st, 2021, or any other date, but it has to be before our program start date, variable pay program start date of January 1st, 2022. So we can use December 31st, 2021 if we want, or I'll use January 1st, 2021. So we're going to click on create and then do success factors to success factors, scheduled, create. And that's where it's really important. We have to use employment details, not termination, employment details here. And do select. And then we're going to call this job SSFF compensation daily job incentive for incentive planning 1 of 2, because there will be 2 that will run sequentially. Then next, in configure fields, we need to click on here, click on employment details and delete it. We're basically going to take data from employment details to send it into our new MDF object. So here we're going to search on termination date for incentive planning, which is here. Click on add, and we're going to drag user ID to external code. And we're not going to drag anything here. We leave it blank as is. And here, however, we need to enter a fixed effective date for the new record. So to do that, we need to click on here, switch to test view, click on the name here, and then do more field option. And here, we're going to select the format as follows and just follow the instructions. So 2021-01-01. There's no need for the quotation mark, so we can just put T000000Z, and we click OK. And that will take care of creating a record for everybody in the system, including people that just got hired like a couple hours ago in this MDF object. And it's important that we do so that we capture everybody for variable pay eligibility. So then we click next. We don't need to define any filters. We click next again. And here, what is important is to schedule it to run daily. So we're going to say the next night from at 1 a.m. Depending on how many users are in the database, it can take between 1 minute for a couple thousands to 30 minutes for 200,000. 1 a.m. Okay, next. And we're going to run it now. So save, it saves the job. I'm going to copy this name to create my second job right after. The integration was now saved, and it's going to trigger the job to run, which we can confirm by clicking on run again, and we get an error because it's already running. So it's always good to check that it's running. So what this is going to do is, if we go to manage data, as the job is in progress, it should already start writing into our object. Data from employment details is going to create a record for everybody, and I think it's important that we visualize it with a fixed date of 1/1/2021, which is before our variable pay fiscal program start date. So we can see if we switch, doesn't matter who we look at, they all have a record as of 01 January 1st, 2021. And anybody who gets hired, for example, tomorrow, well, when the job runs at 1 a.m. after tomorrow, it will create a new record for everybody without changing the record for those who've already been added. So that being said, now we need to create a second integration center job. By the time we finish the design of the second job, this first job should be completed probably. So this second integration center job is going to take care of copying over the termination dates of employees who are currently terminated, not the rehired employees. For rehired employees, we're going to have to do a third step to finalize the initial setup of this design, and then after that, we'll never have to do anything again, as long as the jobs are working correctly overnight and they don't get inactivated or something like that. So here in this second job, that's where it's different from the first job. We have to select employment details, employment termination here. Select this one. In the first job, we selected this one. In the second job, we select this. Click on select. Now we're going to just change it to 2 of 2. Click next. Click here on switch to field mapping view. Remove this and add the MDF object. Okay. So now we need to drag user ID to external code, do the same exact thing with the same exact date than the job number 1. So we do here, we do this, we do more field options, we do this format, and we do 2021-0101 T 000000Z. Okay, so we're good. And then the last thing is, if we go back here, we need to drag the termination date here. That's very important. And then next, and we're going to have to configure advanced filters, because what we want to achieve with this job is that every time an employee terminates, we want to copy over the termination date. However, we only want to copy the termination date when the job runs if the termination date has a value in it. So we want to skip, in the case of an employee who gets rehired, the termination date of employment details gets reset to blank, and we don't want that the job to reset the value for termination for these employees to blank. So that's why we need to add a filter here. That is going to be, we're going to look for termination date. We're going to take this one, termination date, employment details termination. Click on change associations. And here we're going to change the operation to be is not equal to. Leave this blank. Click on next. Here we need to schedule it daily, maybe 2 hours after the previous job. So at 3 a.m. And next, and then run now. Save and continue, save it again. Okay, so now the job is submitted, which we should see with an error message here. Yeah, perfect. And so for the people that were rehired, for the people that are currently terminated, for example, Jack Powers, what this second job is going to do is it's going to feed the termination date that is currently Jack Powers has, because he is currently terminated, which is why it shows in rehiring active employees. So we can confirm that by going to manage data, and here select termination date for incentive planning, and then select Jack Powers, who should be in this list here. Oh, actually, no, I need to do yes, and he should show now. John Parker is also inactive. Let's see if I can find Jack Powers. I don't think it works if I type the. Yeah, I'm gonna go. John Parker is also inactive from the list. Okay, we can look at it in the recording, or actually, let's do it. Yeah, John Parker is also inactive, so that should work. So I'm gonna go back to manage data and search and look at him. John Parker here. So now we can see that the termination date that he currently has in his record, because he's currently terminated, is here. So that's what we want, because that's what's going to help us only filter the records. What we don't want is in the case that I rehire John Parker, and that's why we define the filter in the second job. What we don't want is the fact that because we rehire him, now the termination date and employment details is blank, and we don't want the job to come and overwrite this to blank. So that's why we set up the filter to say copy the termination date only if it is not blank. So in the case of an employee, they terminate, the job copies over their termination date. When they get rehired, this termination date stays in here. It doesn't get overridden. And that's what's going to be able to drive our eligibility rules in variable pay. So now that we have this, we can check actually our guy Coburn. Coburn that we used in the beginning of the demo, he is currently active. He got rehired during the year. And we're going to take his user ID and check him. And we're going to see that it didn't copy a termination date for him because he's currently active, but he did get rehired on July 1st. So we can see here July 1st rehire. Before that he was he terminated. So August 10, I think he was already he terminated here somewhere. Termination date April 2nd, 2022. And so, yeah, if we take a look at his record, because he's currently rehired, there was nothing copied over. So if we take his user ID, here, I'm going to paste it in here. And here we go back to manage data. Termination date for incentive planning. He's currently active, so we don't need to search for include inactive. We paste his ID, Patrick Coburn, and we can see there's nothing because he's currently active. So the job, thanks to the filter rule we put in place, did not copy over any termination date. Now that also means that in order to trigger for the first launch of our design, of our workaround, we have to provide this data manually of the people that terminated during 2022 because currently it's not being captured. Going forward, we will never have to do reports and load data in the MDF again. Everything will be handled automatically. But we have to provide that termination date for him. So to do that, we can go to reporting, and we have to create a report like this, termination in 2022, which is a report on, so I can delete it actually and recreate it. This way we'll have all the steps. So we can do create new table, select single domain, and then choose job information date range, select. And then we're going to create termination 2022. Remove styling. Check that. People is going to be other filters. We don't need inactive users here. We only want active users because the inactive users already get taken care of by job number 2, integration center job number 2. In columns, we're going to do employee information, user ID, username, and then job information, even date, end date, even date, employee status, event reason. And we can even do a filter where employee status is terminated. Job information, employee status equal terminated. Okay, so done. Now I'm not going to generate from here because I need to enter the right dates for this to generate. So I'm going to go back to Report Center and then click on Run. And here, that's where in the pop-up that shows, that's where I'm going to enter the right date. So I want everybody who terminated during 2022. So I can just do 01/01/2022 to 12/31/2022. And then download, generate report. Because there aren't a lot of employees in this environment, it will give me the report. Otherwise, for a real test or prod environment, it would schedule it. So we have to go report center, schedule, and get it there. But here I have my list. So I can see Patrick Coburn is in it, and two other people that I used for testing, to test this design are in it. So now we have this, and so this is the last step before we actually go back to our variable pay template. And we have a long-lasting solution that it will run from now on by itself, is we need to load this into the MDF object. So here I could do it manually, but I'm going to show you how to do it by mass import. So we got to go to import, export data, import and export data. This is where we can control the custom objects loads. And we're going to do export data first. Actually, all we need is download template, actually. So we can just do download template, so termination date, download. And that gives us a zip file. We can open the template here, and that's what we're going to need. So we just want to put these three people. And so, yeah, so we don't need this first column. External code, we're going to take here, user ID. Termination, effective start date, we're going to take the event date. So that's the termination date. So that is going to go into termination date. And then effective start date, that's 2021. So that's 1/1/2021. And that's all we need. So now we can save this CSV. Are we on desktop or somewhere else? Term delta 2022. And go back to here to import data. Select termination date for incentive planning. Choose file, term delta, incremental load, import. It should be really quick for 3 employees, so it's probably already there. It's like a matter of seconds. And now we can check. So we can do termination date. Our guy Coburn here, Patrick. Actually, it searches with the name. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I think there's a setting in each environment that will allow us to enter the name or only use user ID, but I don't have it checked here. So here, Patrick Coburn, and I can see now I have his termination date. Even though he got rehired and is currently effective, I have his termination date. And going forward, when the job runs, because he currently has no data in termination date, this will not get overridden. And that's what we're going to use now in this example to adjust our eligibility rule in variable pay. So now the last step of this process, everything's ready, and from now on, for any new cycle in the upcoming years, it will work without the system administrators having to do anything. So now the last step to test this design is to go to our plan setup and go to our record rule, click on the rule, and do make correction, add a parent or, and then you're going to do it's an and, so you can change it into an and then the parent or is going to be here, and it's going to be job information, employment details, custom termination date for incentive planning. Termination date is equal to null, so that's going to take care of retrieving all the people that didn't get rehired. And then a second rule is going to be job info, employment details. So it's going to be job info event date is Greater is after. Employment details, termination date, termination date. Can remove this, save, and you're good. So this is what it should look like. So this will take care of retrieving the people that didn't get rehired, who were just like regular active employees throughout the fiscal year. It will get all the records for them because they don't have a date in this termination date field. And this will take care of only selecting the records of job info after rehire for those people that got rehired. So we can run it. Now it's saved. We can just save. We don't have to save here because it's already saved in the pop-up. And just rerun. Me a little bit of time. But the issue was caused by the fact that in the integration center job, the date that I used, the fixed date to send the data to the MDF object should have been earlier than 2021 because this person, Patrick Coburn, that I used in my test case, the record that was before termination hadn't changed since 2020. And so, which is why simply I kept the rule as it is, and I just kicked off, triggered a import employee central from employee history. But just simply coming here and changing this effective date for the record, which is the fixed date that we used in the integration center jobs, fixing that date and putting it way back, just simply fix the issue when I rerun the employee history. So now I just triggered a job to run. Because the record that was retrieved that was before termination had a start date in 2020. So we have to have a date that is very early in the MDF object to copy the information so that we capture people that haven't changed, for which the information hasn't changed in a long time. So here, if I go back to this template and I do employee central settings, and I look at the rule, it's exactly the same. And I just reapplied it. It's probably still running. It's exactly the same than what I had. But the simple fact that I changed the effective date of the record, not the termination date, just the effective date, is now going to work. So it's still in progress here. Actually, we should already have all the records visible. Let's wait until it finally completes. Yeah, completed. And so now I can see that if I go to my edit employee history, I can see that I have everybody, people that didn't change. And for my guy Coburn, Patrick Coburn, he is now the system is only retrieving one record, which is the one after July 1st, 2022. And so if we were to add a new change in job info, comp info, and to 10.1, it would pick it up as well, because it's basically applying the rules that we said, and so the system will pick up any job info, comp info change that is after the termination date from the MDF object. Thank you for watching. This is a pretty complex workaround, but it is very useful, especially for customers in retail, where there are a lot of people moving and coming back a few months later. So in my particular case, customer I found this workaround for had about 1,500 people that leave the company and then get rehired in the same fiscal year. Thank you.